All right, so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right.
Give them some instruction.
Okay, very good. Wow, this is a happy few who are here today, braving the elements. Come to class.
For sure.
Well, this is brilliant. I really appreciate the invitation to come and talk with you. We had this kind of a workshop for class last semester, and apparently, I mean, it seemed to go well. The student projects went well. So my name is Chris Rosser. I'm first year in transfer experience librarian. Have any of you had me in a class? Chet? Okay, very good. This is our first time. I'm talking a lot about AI. Okay, some of you have probably used AI tools. I'm not a priest, and this is not a confessional. Can I just ask you, who's been using AI tools at all, like ChatGPT, etc.? Listen, I'm so glad to see your hands because you've got to be using these tools for the sake of your career. Here's the thing. I know that there are, especially if you're an artist, when it comes to image generation, like we're going to talk about today, there are some feelings. And there are also ethical concerns about using AI, et cetera. And those are things that we're just going to have to continue wrestling with. And I will tell you, your careers are likely going to be powered in some way by AI. And so the more you understand how to use these tools, even if it's not a go-to for you, the better that is for you in terms of being marketable for a job. Okay, so I mean, that's just kind of where it is. So it's a good idea for you to know, have some familiarity with what we're talking about today. You might actually have fun with this. Okay, we're talking about image generation or digital storytelling, which is pretty cool. And friends, I'm going to share the slide deck today with you. And it should be pretty good about just kind of walking you through how to do this. And then gives you a lot of other resources. Okay, that's enough preamble. Are we okay? Go ahead and get started. All right. So I just got to hear about this really interesting project that you're doing. Like that's a pretty cool project. Have you identified already who you're going to be potentially? Not yet. You may take a trip out to the cemetery. You know, I mean, this is a very interesting project. It's a mix of the sacred and also the solemn and also kind of the whimsical. I mean, we're producing a digital story of someone's life. So what I want to talk to you about today is this. How do you generate images that are consistent? In other words, how do you get somebody to have a similar face in this image to this image using an AI tool? Guess what? That's actually not easy to do. The AI tools are incredible, but when it comes to trying to generate consistent characters, it's not so easy. Has anybody messed around with AI generation in terms of images? Like you've done it on ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot. Who's had a little bit of experience with that? Was it Alex? Is that right?
Yeah.
Alex has. Okay. Anybody else so far? How did it go for you? Were you impressed by the images, or were they kind of like, not really? Yeah, you know. And the tools that we're going to talk about today, there's a range, there's a spectrum, and some of these tools are incredibly sophisticated. Others are not. But I think that you'll be able to walk away with at least an understanding of how to do this well. So we want to talk today about just like magical tools for doing this. And I like this quote, and that's why I wanted to get this from Arthur C. Clarke. But any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic until we understand it. And that's the way a lot of people feel about some of these kinds of tools. The very first thing that I'd like to do is just watch 2 minutes of this video. Is that okay, guys? Let's just see, because this will give us our context right quick.
7 years ago, back in 2015, one major development in AI research was automated image captioning. Machine learning algorithms could already label objects in images, and now they learned to put those labels into natural language descriptions. And it made one group of researchers curious. What if you flipped that process around?
We could do image to text. Why not try doing text to image as well and see how it works?
It was a more difficult task. They didn't want to retrieve existing images the way Google Search does. They wanted to generate entirely novel scenes that didn't happen in the real world. So they asked their computer model for something that it would have never seen before.
Like all the school buses you've seen are yellow. But if you write the red or green school bus, would it actually try to generate something green? And it did that. It was a 32 by 32 tiny image, and then all you could see is like a blob of something on top of something.
They tried some other prompts, like a herd of elephants flying in the blue skies, a vintage photo of a cat, a toilet seat sits open in the grass field, and a bowl of bananas is on the table. Maybe not something to hang on your wall, but the 2016 paper from those researchers showed the potential for what might become possible in the future. And the future has arrived.
It is almost impossible to overstate how far the technology has come in just 1 year.
Leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
Oh, it's it's been quite dramatic.
I don't know anyone who hasn't immediately been like, what is this? What is happening here?
All right, so I just wanted to start with that to say two things. One is actually, it is pretty incredible. Some of the images that you'll come up with, you'll probably feel quite surprised by. But prompting is the key. How we turn text into image, because that's what's happening. Images, when they're in a digital space like this, they're really just actually text. I mean, we're seeing it, but the way that those images get created and the way that the machine is able to engage with them and understand them, it's just words. Well, it's not just words, it's symbols, but they're text. And so that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to try to use these tools to take a descriptive paragraph of something and then turn that into an image. And not just that, turn that into a consistent image of a person over time. All right. So when we're thinking about this kind of a project, one of the very important things to do at first is just understand what it is that we're trying to do. And so if I were to break down this kind of a project into its simplest tasks and the skills that are associated, I mean, we're choosing a subject, we got to find information, including obituaries, etc. And then this is where we are now. We got to ideate and storyboard. In other words, you're not just jumping in and starting to get the image generator to create images. You've already done the hard work of thinking through how you want this story to unfold and what those images are going to look like. And we're going to use an AI tool to help us do that as well. Okay. I selected as a subject for this presentation Don Quixote. Okay, and I know some of you know who Don Quixote is. The story is about a man of La Mancha and is tilting against windmills. And it's just a very interesting story, not least about mental health. But I chose Don Quixote, okay, as my subject. All right. I want to show you, just to kind of help us understand what we're talking about here. I created this image about 30 minutes ago in a tool called Midjourney. Now that tool is going to be a little bit inaccessible because you can use a free version, but you don't have many chances to create images in it. But Midjourney is incredibly sophisticated. It is a very, very incredible image generator. And I want you to see what happened here. I prompted this tool to create 4 people at a table, but they're all the same person. They're just at different ages. They're just at different stages of life. Because I wanted to see, could Midjourney do this? And I don't know if you can see very well, but to a pretty nice extent, it did. We have a rather youngish person here. I think that they could be a little bit younger. Maybe we lose the beard. And then a little bit older, kind of a maybe 30s, early 40s type individual. Now we have the 50s, and I don't know if you can't really see it, but there's a scar on that cheek. And here he is older, and that same scar appeared. And the prompting that I gave to Midjourney was actually able to a pretty nice degree put all these generations at the same table together. Faces are not identical, okay? So you can already tell that trying to get the machine to create consistency in terms of characters, okay? Even when they're in the same image like this, it's not easy, all right? It's not easy, but we're gonna give it a try. Okay, so here we go. I've included lots of videos here, little tutorials, etc., that could be helpful for you. This is a video of the top 5 free AI image generators. There are image generators that are super cool for creating like manga style, comic books, etc. They're really, really cool. But anyway, you can look at that on your own. What I want to do today for this is to introduce you to 2 free tools that I think are going to be the easiest solution for you for this project. Okay. So we thought through what is it that we have to do. And our process for this is going to involve these kinds of skills. We need to ideate or brainstorm with some kind of a tool. We've got to make selections or gather information about our subject that we've chosen. Then we need help with prompt generation, because that can be really difficult. How do we create that little language that's going to turn into an image? That's what we need help with. And then organization, we can talk about that if we have time. Out of a lot of tools, what I chosen was Perplexity and Canva, because these are free, and I think they're going to really help you. Perplexity, Canva, that's where we're headed. Okay, that's our tool combo here. All right. Okay. So let me talk about Perplexity for just a second. And in fact, I'm just going to jump out to Perplexity. So I'm jumping over to Perplexity. So Perplexity is kind of like ChatGPT in terms of you're interacting with a machine and you're starting to have a dialogue, okay? It's not like a search where it's one and done. You're having an interaction with a machine. That's actually what power is. It's not like ChatGPT in this fact. Perplexity is able to search the live web. ChatGPT, which many of you have probably used, it only searches an echo of the web. It only is trained up to a certain point. Something like Perplexity can look at everything. So that means that if people are producing videos right now on how to do better in Canva to create consistent images, Perplexity can see it. Okay, and that's a real benefit for us in this. So I want you to look at the way that I started prompting. I'm working on this digital storytelling project about Don Quixote's life. I got to convey significant aspects, important events. Can you help me identify 15 to 20 events in his life that should be remembered? Guys, if I find a subject that is, at the cemetery, I find somebody, and I'm able to even use something like Perplexity and say, I need to find this person's obituary. They are now in this cemetery in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Perplexity, there's an obituary. Perplexity, find it instantly. Okay. Then I can say, from that obituary, just from the obituary, can you help me identify maybe 10, because you need 10, right? It sounds like 10 images at least. Can you help me identify 10 different moments in this person's life that might be interesting to include in a digital storytelling project about that, okay? So do you see how I'm using these AI tools already to start that kind of discovery process, okay? And then we get to the prompting. And so I'm going to scroll down just a little bit and say, thanks so much. And by the way, you notice how I'm talking to the machine like I'm talking to a person? That's a good way to approach this. Okay, we have found the more we engage with these machine minds as if we're talking to a person, the better we do. It's pretty fascinating. There are good reasons for that. We've talked about them today. So I'm going to turn these into images. I'm using Canva. Can you help me figure out how to prompt for consistency? And this is what starts happening. It does. Okay, it's starting to provide me with different prompts for different scenes, etc. And you guys can look through this and kind of see how my prompting went here. But I'm going to jump back over here and show you the result of that. Yeah. All right. So once I did that work in Perplexity, now I'm ready to jump into Canva as the tool where we're actually going to create these kinds of images. Okay. And so again, I want to always encourage, whether it's Perplexity, but especially with a tool like Canva to create images, watch tutorial videos, mess around with it. Don't expect that the first time you try something that you're going to do. Okay, you might be very happy with your results, but just watch some tutorial videos. I would like to watch the first 2 minutes of this video. Okay, just so we can kind of get a sense of what we're talking about. Now, what I want you to know is that I was very surprised, they use the very same strategy that I'm talking about going to one tool to help us prompt for another tool. Only they use ChatGPT. Okay, so if you feel more comfortable with ChatGPT or another tool than Perplexity, that's a fine place to go. Let's watch just 2 minutes so you can get a sense.
In this tutorial, we will learn how to create consistent characters and consistent scenes. Let's dive in. Part 1. Creating consistent characters. Step 1. Writing the character prompt with ChatGPT. First, go to ChatGPT and brainstorm to create a basic prompt describing your character. Include details like age, hair color and type, clothing, and scene, what the character is doing. For example, you might describe a character as a teenager with shoulder-length straight brown hair, wearing glasses and a yellow sweater, sitting at a desk in a quiet library.
I just want to point out that, do you see how clear they were being in that prompting? Okay, it's very specific, but here's the other thing. If you do have, for example, old photographs, you can actually describe the photograph in detail, and you might be able to reproduce that with some accuracy, especially if you're descriptive of what the person themselves looks like.
End the prompt by specifying that this is a consistent character and select a style, such as Pixar style. Step 2. Adding a unique number. At the beginning of the prompt, add seed number followed by any random 5-digit number. This number will help you track your character, but it doesn't matter which number you choose. Step 3. Naming your character. Give your character a name. It can be anything. Let's call our character Jane for this example. Step 4. Creating different scenes. Now, identify the action in your prompt. For example, if Jane is sitting at a desk in a quiet library in the first prompt, you can change the action for the next scene. In the second prompt, Jane might be walking through the school hallway with a backpack, or in another scene, she could be studying with friends at a coffee shop. If you're looking for inspiration, ask ChatGPT to suggest more scenarios for your character. Use a table to plan out different scenarios for your character, only changing the action description while keeping the rest of the prompt the same. Here's an example table showing one consistent character across 8 different scenes.
Okay, what's happening here is called storyboarding. Okay, and some of you have had experience with that, possibly in education, etc. But do you notice what's going on? It's very organized. We have the first image that we're going to create, and here's the action that we want to focus on, and then here's the prompt that was generated. By doing this first, right? I'm not in Canva yet. By doing this kind of work first, just using ChatGPT, Perplexity, and some other documents in order to capture all of this, I'm ready to go into Canva and create those images really quickly without having to backtrack and figure out where am I, etc. That's not bad. Just start like that. Okay, that's storyboarding kind of process, right?
The bolded parts are the actions in the prompt, and they are the parts you change. Step 5. Generating images in Canva. Now, copy the first prompt and head over to Canva. Scroll down to the Magic Media app and paste in the first prompt into the text box. You can also choose the style and aspect ratio here. For this example, I'll stick with Pixar movie style, so I'll choose none. Click Generate Image to receive 4 images, choose the one that best represents your vision and place it on your canvas. If needed, click Generate More like this to get additional options. Repeat this process for each scenario, ensuring the character remains consistent while the action changes.
I'm going to jump out of this video now. You guys, you can watch the rest of this video. I think it'll be very, very helpful. But she said 3 things you should do in each of these prompts in Canva in order to maintain a consistent character. Anybody remember what at least one of those 3 things was? Yeah, being very clear. This is a consistent character. Just that line. Okay, that's at the very end of the prompt. Okay. What else? Anybody? Yeah, this is unique to Canva. This doesn't work in other places. This idea of a seed number. Okay. Different tools have different ways that they will help you to create consistency. None of the tools is perfect at this yet. Okay, it's coming on. I have no doubt very soon we're going to have a very simple tool for this. But seed number, and it doesn't matter what you use, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, because all you're doing is within that canvas space that you're starting to work. This image is going to be associated with number, and that helps the machine to make those connections. There was one more thing. You can see it here. It may not be super obvious. Does anybody remember what it was? Name the character. Name the character. So I have Coyote here, Jane, whatever. Name the character and do that in every prompt, and that's going to help the machine to start making those connections. And this was my prompt. Okay. Now, you notice one of the images that I created was this one. They gave me a choice of 4 different images to see which one I like. In some of these images, we have like his legs are kind of going into the ground. There's a spoon that's kind of like part of his armor here. There are odd things that are happening. But then we get to this image, this number 4 image. It's not bad. Okay, it's a pretty good image to potentially use. So what's going to happen is Canva will give me 4 images. I'll choose one. Okay. And then that one becomes kind of the consistent character reference that the machine will begin using. So I have a question or comment as we're going. Does this seem pretty straightforward so far? You guys be okay? Let me do this then. I want to jump out and I'm going to jump over here to Perplexity. Okay. And guys, do you see how, if I type that into Google, that's trash, right? That's a trash search. Let's see what happens with Perplexity. This is, let's see, cross your fingers, you never know. Is that her?
That is good.
Look at that. So Perplexity is bringing me back some sources, and you can tell that I've already got an obituary at the cemetery itself may have produced one. But it looks like we have, is this an obituary here? Yeah. Okay. So guys, that made pretty quick work of that aspect of the discovery. Okay. Notice I'm getting not just what I asked for, but also a pretty quick description of who is this person. I'm asking it to help me start thinking through what it might look like to storyboard this. Okay. So notice these moments in this life. We might be able to use these to decide, okay, you know what, that could make a really nice image. Here's the other thing. Look, I've got images. So let's look at this one really quickly. Look at her teaching the piano. Wouldn't that be nice? Okay. All right, let's try this. This is so helpful. Thank you. I am imagining her teaching the piano. So notice it went in, researched, okay, well, how do we do this at Canva? And look at that. Now I've got this prompt, okay? A gentle 30-year-old piano teacher with short, neatly styled brown hair in 1940s fashion. Do you see how this is working? But I've got a seed number. What do I not have? I don't have a name. And I do have a consistent character down at the bottom, okay? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to copy that, and then we're going to jump out to Canva. And I'm just going to go to the end, so you guys have this in your slide deck as well, okay? All right, so let's give this a try. Here we go. All right, and so I'm going to go ahead and paste that there. Now, I'm not sure that I love, this is definitely 1940s type style. What I might do is choose a different style. I might choose photorealistic. Generate again. See what happens. Notice, I mean, they've given you 4 images, and the one that you choose, okay, there's a little there's a little 3 squiggly box here, or if let's double click. All right, but if I use that image and then I generate more images, okay, with the same seed number, that's the trick, same seed number, same name, and that little phrase, this is a consistent image. What's going to happen is it's going to begin to be very consistent, okay? And the more that I generate and the more that I choose the one that I think will match, okay, if I make that selection, it's going to get even clearer and clearer with regard to that consistency. There's a generator on this tool that using just your prompt, it'll actually create a video of a person, not just a static image, okay? But that tool is not quite as sophisticated yet. All right, are you ready for this? Let's see. There is our storybook Nina, so that's another option for you as well. One of the coolest things though, like if I'm back at Perplexity, I can do the same thing at Canva. When I click this share button up in the corner, look at this, I can copy this link and share with my instructor. And so, if you have any questions about what kind of work did you do, you guys could seem like such a smarty pants, okay? It would be smarty pants if you just share your entire conversation with the machine in whatever spaces you were having these conversations.